Start with a trip to the Hall of Fame. For 12 athletes and one team, Thursday's afternoon's announcement was a culmination of a lifetime's worth of work and efforts here in the Southern Tier, both on and off the athletic fields. The Greater Binghamton Hall of Fame announced its historic 10th class to be enshrined come this April. Headlining this year's class is Emily Mackay, the Union Endicott graduate and Binghamton University alum. Stole the summer last year as she raced her way to Paris and the Summer Olympic Games. Along with Mackay, Shenango Forks athletic director and head football coach Dave Hogan and Vestal State winning field hockey and softball coach Vicki Sachs round out some of the names that are still competing in the area that will be enshrined this spring. Greater Binghamton Hall of Fame President Tony Quagliata spoke to 12 News about this year's selections into the Hall.
It's a diverse group involving 9 different sports and just outstanding individuals. So it's amazing background of ages and variety of sports that our community has in such an abundance.
The announcement was made on Thursday, along with the announcement of this year's recipients of the 2 Hall of Fame scholarships. Those are going to Maine Enwell's Natalie Yale and Shenango Forks' Lucas Bartlow. Selection committee member Roger Neal talked about how difficult picking this year's class was.
Some will remember, some won't, but when they see what they have done in their careers and the teams that have accomplished things, I think they're going to be amazed again at the quality that this Greater Binghamton Sports Hall of Fame centers on.
The 2025 class will officially become members of the Hall of Fame on Monday, April 28th. You can find more info on the Hall of Famers and the induction ceremonies on our 12 Sports homepage.